Hello and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a term that you've probably heard floating around maybe a lot lately, data mesh. What exactly is it? Why is everyone talking about it? And is it really the future of how we handle data? All right, let's get into it. So, to kick things off, let's just start with a question that honestly hits home for so many of us in so many companies. Why is it still so incredibly hard to get real, meaningful value from all the data we're constantly collecting? To get a feel for this problem, let's picture a company from our source material. We'll call them DAF Inc. Now, before Data Mesh, DAF Inc. did things the way most companies do. Every single request for data had to go through one central data team. This one team was supposed to handle everything for everyone, from marketing to product, and, well, you can guess what happened. They just couldn't keep up. This situation has a name, and it's a good one: the Great Data Bottleneck. It's what happens when a centralized model, which is supposed to create order, actually ends up crushing the innovation and speed that modern businesses absolutely need to survive. And this bottleneck, man, it causes some real headaches. You've got this central team that's always playing catch up. They're trying to fix broken data pipelines and make sense of data they have no business context for. And the result? The data is stale, nobody trusts it, and everyone else is stuck waiting forever. Sound familiar? So, the big question is, how do we break out of this? Well, the answer isn't just a small tweak. It's a total paradigm shift in how we think about data. It means moving away from a giant single monolith to something more like a mesh. And this visual says it all, really. On the left, you see the old way, the monolith. All the data pipelines just feed into one big data lake or warehouse, all managed by that one overloaded team. But on the right, that's the data mesh. It's a distributed network where different teams manage their own data. This isn't just about moving boxes around on an architecture diagram. It's a completely new way of thinking. We're going from centralized ownership to decentralized domain ownership. We're moving from a monolithic architecture to a distributed network. And maybe the biggest shift of all, we stop treating data like some messy exhaust, a byproduct, and start treating it like a valuable product. So, here it is, the official definition from its creator. Data mesh is a decentralized, socio-technical approach. Now, that word, socio-technical, that's the key. It's this recognition that our data problems are just as much about people and teams and culture as they are about the technology itself. Okay, so this whole new approach is built on 4 core principles. You really have to think of them as the 4 pillars that hold the whole thing up. First, domain ownership. Second, treating data as a product. Third, having a self-serve data platform. And fourth, federated computational governance. Let's dig into what each of those actually means. Let's start with the first 2, because honestly, they're like 2 sides of the same coin: domain ownership and data as a product. Together, these 2 are all about decentralizing who's responsible and totally changing our mindset about what data even is. All right, first up, domain ownership. This idea is so simple, but it changes everything. The responsibility for data shifts away from that central team and gets handed to the business domains that are actually closest to the data. So back at our company, DAFS Inc., the player team now owns the player data. The partnership team owns the partnership data. It just makes sense, right? You're aligning data responsibility with the people who have the business expertise. Okay, but hold on. If every team owns its own data, doesn't that just create a bunch of disconnected silos all over again? And that's where the second principle, data as a product, is so brilliant. It says, yes, you own your data, but you now have a responsibility to treat it like a product for your customers, who are other teams in the company. You have to make it easy to find, easy to understand, and totally trustworthy. And here's what that looks like in the real world. The playlist team at Daft doesn't file a ticket and wait for weeks anymore. Nope. They just discover and use a high-quality, well-documented data product straight from the partnership team. It's peer-to-peer. The middleman is just gone. So we've decentralized ownership and we're treating data like a product. It sounds good, but it also raises a pretty massive question. How do you stop this from just turning into total chaos? And that is where the last 2 principles, the platform and governance, come in to provide that crucial structure. Seriously, this is the most common question people ask about data mesh, and it's the most important one. If you let every team do their own thing, how do you keep any kind of consistency? How is it not just the Wild West? Well, the answer is in these last 2 principles. A self-serve data platform gives every single domain team the same set of tools and infrastructure, which makes it way easier and cheaper for them to build their data products. Then, federated governance sets the global rules of the road. Things like data security standards, naming conventions. So all these independent products can actually talk to each other. And the computational part is key here. These rules aren't just in some dusty PDF. They are automatically enforced by the platform itself. It makes doing the right thing the easy thing. And here's the real aha moment. These 4 principles, they are completely interdependent. You can't just pick one or two. Domain ownership gives teams autonomy, but data as a product stops them from creating silos. The self-serve platform makes it possible for them to build, and federated governance makes sure they all play by the same rules. It's a beautifully balanced system of freedom and responsibility. So when you put this all together, it becomes crystal clear that data mesh isn't just some new piece of tech you can buy. It's a fundamental change in your culture, your team structure. It's a whole new socio-technical mindset. This diagram really just sums it all up perfectly. Organizationally, you're going from centralized to decentralized. Architecturally, you're going from a monolith to a distributed network. And in terms of your philosophy, you're moving from seeing data as just an asset you hoard to a product you proudly share. It's a transformation at every single level. And look, while it sounds like this huge, daunting shift, there's a real powerful logic to it. I love this quote from Jesse Anderson, who says, "Data mesh is one of those concepts where we ask ourselves why we weren't doing this all along. It just aligns your data strategy with how modern, agile businesses already work." Which brings us to our last thought, a question for you to take back to your own world. Right now, think about it. Is your organization treating its data like a messy, accidental byproduct that's stuck in a bottleneck? Or is it ready to start treating data like a first-class product, something designed from the ground up to create real value?